Welcome to Simple.Honest.Focused, a conversation on how the gospel of Jesus brings us together in an honest community focused on God's mission. So I'm Jordan, and this is...
Hello, everybody. I'm Rod.
How are you doing, Rod?
I'm doing well, doing really well. Trying to, just like everybody else that's either listening to this video or anywhere else on the planet, just trying to, figure out this quarantine stuff.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. I don't really saying a whole lot. I think a lot of people do. I've never really been crazy about the whole is what it is thing, but with this right now, hey, it is what it is. And so we're trying to make the most of it, trying to make the best of it. And, with our conversation in these videos, this ongoing conversation about the gospel and about community and mission, I think it's good to have these conversations. It's good to kind of stretch through these topics in the midst of a global pandemic, because the hope is that God, the gospel and the community that is built around the gospel and an intentional community that's focused on being the agents of the mission of God. You would hope that that would be stronger than any virus, than any pandemic, than any issue that the world is seeing around us. And just this what was it, just a couple of days ago, we had those tornadoes just kind of sweep through the south, and I thought, let's add insult to injury here. How devastating is that? Because people don't know how to leave their house to go get supplies right now, and now they don't have homes to go to. And
right.
But what's beautiful in all that is I'm seeing the church, how the church is really kind of rallying around. I have friends of mine in different places that they're coming together and they're going out with chainsaws, and the church is responding. When we lived on the Mississippi Gulf Coast during Katrina, and man, I remember just the devastation that happened during Katrina, but I also remember the beauty of just church. Church people, God's people responding in droves, coming from all over. Money coming in, people coming in, resources, whether it's generators, chainsaws. I mean, it was all over the place. So here we are, and it is what it is, right?
It is what it is, my friend. It is what it is.
Yeah. So today we're talking about mission. Gospel, community, and mission are the main three things that we talk about with this conversation. So today we'll talk about mission. Now, the main point I think for today, because there's a lot that can be said about missional living, missions, being on mission for God, the mission of God. There's just tons to be said about it. But today I just want to kind of focus a little bit on how life, all of life, as a Christian, all of life should be viewed as mission. That every Christian, every day, is a missionary. We don't have to get on an airplane and go to the other side of the planet to do intense missionary work to see every day as a mission field.
I don't think we actually can get on a plane anymore to go across the world.
You're right.
That's the thing.
I'll make I was writing some stuff down. I came across this statement. It says, as unbelievable as it may seem, recent research indicates that there are now more than 200 million non-churched people in America, making our nation one of the largest unchurched countries in the world. Only 3 other nations, China, India, and Indonesia, have more unchurched people. So, really what it takes is every Christian in America, everybody that calls himself a Christ follower, to say, I'm still going to send money for missions. I'm still going to send people on missions in my church, but I need to see every single Monday, every single Tuesday as being commissioned by God to live on mission every single day. So Jordan, what do you think? And maybe you can share a little bit of some experience in your own life, but what does that look like for you? Or what does that look like? And it doesn't, I'm not saying that you you just kill this all the time. You nail it
Dude,
all the time.
I am the perfect example of this. What are you talking about? No, I'm
Yes,
joking.
you're
Please.
good at sarcasm too.
Yeah,
So
sarcasm is a
what does
strong
that
point.
look
Yeah.
like? What does it look like maybe for you? How have you seen that happen? Just kind of play out in your own life, and what can that look like for other people?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now I'm in West Virginia. And, one of the cool things that I see, even though, like maybe not in the midst of COVID, but is, one of the things that, Jessica and I feel really strongly about is having people over, people that might know Christ, might not know Christ, and literally just inviting people to ourselves. Also, just having them and showing them that we're not, got those cone hats on, those tinfoil cone hats, we're just normal people that, love Jesus. But also just being intentional wherever I go, whether that's at Walmart. Also, shout out really quick to Amanda. She was at Walmart a couple weeks ago before I left up here. And she said that she follows this. So, Amanda, if you want to comment below or go follow us on our website, go ahead and click a link, connect, and go and email me. I'd love to connect with you a little bit more. It's really cool. But anyway, whether it's going to the store, I had to add that little part in. But yeah, so whether it's going to the store and asking the cashier, and this is something that I found really weird, is that when you ask a cashier, how are you doing? And they're just like, they kind of back up. It kind of it shows a little bit of difference between you and the everyday person walking through. And I've built up a lot of relationships that way. Or, in coffee shops. I love coffee and I love coffee shops. And they're probably a mission field in itself entirely. Because through making coffees and things like that, I can come and have relationships with people. And sometimes I feel like coffee shops are kind of like bars. So basically, people just kind of tell their bartender, you hear that thing, like you tell your bartender everything. And sometimes, on Monday mornings when people come into a coffee shop, they'll tell you everything that's wrong on their Monday morning. And it's a way for me to be there for them and to care for them and to make them feel heard and feel accepted. And I think that that's what Jesus would do as well. And so those are a couple things,
Yeah.
just the variety of different things on how I try to live this thing, even though there's some days where I'm just like, I don't want to talk to you right now. I just want to work. I want to get you your coffee and be done with it. But then there are days where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be intentional and and things like that. So anyway, so yeah, that's me.
You said a few things that really stick out. Being intentional. You have to really see it. You have to see your job. You have to see your neighborhood. You have to see the places where you play. You have to see the places where you frequent, whether it's Walmart or the drugstore. You have to see all those places intentionally as strategic points where God has put you to make a touch missionally, make a touch in somebody's life. And so relationships, you mentioned relationships, like that's key to it. Obviously, you have to. In our culture, we have to build relationships with people. We gotta, and one of the things you said, and it's something I've said a lot in our church is we, as a Christian, we don't necessarily always need to try to be inviting people to something.
Mm-hmm.
That's, for the longest time, we were always trying to invite people, well, I did pretty good today. I invited one person to Sunday school or one person to church. But some of the ways that we're trying to just change that conversation is that we're inviting people to ourselves.
Yeah.
And so as a believer in Christ and trying to live missionally, you got to be intentional about it. You got to see every day as God has designed this day. He's commissioned you today as a missionary, and there's somebody out there that needs you to invite them to yourself and really just, open that door of relationship. And, what's great about this whole concept of mission and being a missionary everywhere you go, it's every time you think of of missions, there's always this concept of being sent. It's like God is sending me. If tomorrow or if every Monday you see, you wake up and today is another day that God is sending me into my workplace. God is sending me.
Exactly.
Even if you're coming home on the weekends and every Saturday and Sunday maybe you'll be at the house doing some stuff in your neighborhood. Maybe we can be strategic about those moments in our neighborhood where we say, well, God has sent me to that apartment complex. God has sent me to that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so then the concept of God sending, like, that's not something that's new. Way back, and if you have, if you're listening or watching and you want to make note, and in Genesis chapter 12, you find a beautiful story of God really setting aside Abram and sending him to be a blessing to other people. He's in the process in Genesis 12 of setting up a people for himself, which has always been his plan. And that people that God has set aside for himself, they're to be a blessing. And so in the story in Genesis 12, it said, now the Lord said to Abram, go from your country, your kindred, and your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you. It means I'm for you, and I will dishonor, and him who dishonors you, I will curse. And in you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. And then 11 verse 4, just a simple obedient step. It just says, and so Abram went as the Lord told him, and
Yeah.
Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. And so if you keep reading, you find that his name has changed to Abraham. His family, the people, they grow and they grow and they grow, and then through Abraham, Father Abraham, the song, right? Maybe you don't know this song.
I do. And many sons. And many
Yes,
sons that Father Abraham. Okay, yeah. Anyway.
dance a little bit. That's enough dancing, right? But it's through God speaking to Abram and God commissioning Abram to go,
Yeah.
and then God sending him away. And then Abram, in faith and obedience says, sure, I'll do it. And it's not like Abram was this real faithful Sunday school teacher type old, Baptist preacher that's always, smiling at everybody and doing everything right. He was a pagan. He wasn't following the Lord. He wasn't worshiping the God of the Bible. But God showed up and spoke to him and called him out, and he went and he did it. And he was old. He's like 75 years old. And so a lot of people, when you hear things like, well, I don't know if I can do this, I might be too old, or I don't know if God's calling me. Here's the thing, like, God, if you're a believer, if you're call yourself a Christian or considering calling yourself a Christian, like, God is calling us all out to live on mission for him. Yeah. He's a sending God. He always has been. He always will be. And he's sending all of us into the culture that we live in now too. And even in the midst of this pandemic where we're like, how do we do this now? Like, how are we supposed to live missionally now? And one of the things that we've talked about with our church is some of the conversations we've had with some of the people in our church is just like, how can you just creatively, just be a blessing to people right now in your neighborhood? One of the things I've challenged some of our church people to do is just think of somebody you haven't talked to in a while, or you haven't seen. Maybe it's a coworker that you usually see, but now that you're at home or not able to go to work, you haven't seen them, and reach out to them, call them, just say, hey, thinking about you. Or just, you do something simple like that. Is there a way you can help somebody is there a way you can be a blessing to somebody in your neighborhood if they're working on something or anything? Just be a blessing to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it might be that as you grow in that relationship, as you're being intentional in your relationship, building with other people that are, maybe they're far from God or they don't believe in God, build relationships with everybody. And it could be that one day, they come to you and they look at you and say, hey, I don't get why you're like you are. Like, I don't understand why you're you're helping me, or why you're talking to me, or why you're like this. And so, and then that gives us an opportunity to, God opens the door for us to, circle back and talk about the gospel. And the hope is that somebody responds to the gospel and they see their need for Christ, and then they believe, and then they get plugged into biblical, honest community. And then from there, they turn into somebody that sees every Monday as being sent by God to be a blessing. And so there's a lot more that can be said of this in the videos to come. We're still talking about the gospel. We're still talking about community. We're still talking about mission. Jordan, before we call it quits today, you got anything else you want to add to the conversation today?
No, man, I think that you really hit it. I mean, I think a lot of us, even myself for a while, thought that Abraham was just this huge spiritual leader. And that, no, he literally was called by God, and then he went, and I find so much beauty in that, like to just go off of just pure faith, with God. And I think that that's something, that we can struggle with a lot. And also, with the whole, how do we do this now? Like, I wasn't even doing good before now. Like, how can I even do good now? And I think, it's doing those things, being creative in the way that we do it, because we have a little bit more time now. So take that time to just kind of figure out something creative to do, to talk to those people that you haven't in a while, and build those relationships up again.
Wow.
So dude, I think everything's on point. I think it's like you said, I think it's with every conversation so far we've had is, we can't get to it in these couple minutes that we have, these moments that we have. But I think over a while, in the next 5 years or so, when we're doing this, we'll maybe scratch the surface, maybe. But yeah, man, I liked it.
Well, good. Well, it was good seeing you. Hopefully things are going well for you way up there. Everybody up there, I said, hey. So also, if you're listening and you have any questions about what it might mean to be a Christ follower, or if you want to talk to me or Jordan about anything, reach out to us. You can find both of our emails and other leaders of our church, Harbor City Church. You can find ways to contact us through email, through our website. Check it out, harborcity.life, not light, life. harborcity.life, and we'd love to connect with you. So thanks for tuning in, and check back next week to the next episode of Simple, Honest, Focused. All right, Jordan, see you, buddy.
See you, dude. Bye.